Hi, guys. I seemed like I was talking to. Hi. Okay, I was just a couple of minutes early. Hi, Ron. I can't hear. Oh, you're on mute. That's why.
Yeah. Hear me now?
That's the same thing like yesterday.
I need the headphones, but I'm gonna turn my camera off because I haven't showered or anything yet.
Oh, all right. Okay.
I'm gonna watch your show. What is this about?
This is about vulnerability in women.
Okay.
Yeah, and we just started the show. And it's not really a show. It's kind of like a get together. Hi, Dale. Do you see Dale's here?
Yeah. Haven't seen you for a while.
You're on mute, Dale.
How's that?
That's
Ah,
good.
you're fine.
How y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm still above the dirt.
Yeah, right.
Well,
Yeah.
Merry Christmas. Our grandson is with us now.
What's that?
My grandson is with us.
Oh,
Yeah. So
new
anyway,
show?
what?
New show or what?
No, this is just our weekly wisdom, but today we invited men to try and help women that are over 55 to understand what men feel about their vulnerability. So I'd like to ask you a question as a man. You are men, right?
Well,
Okay.
last time I looked, I was.
All right.
I'm thinking
So,
about
what is your perception of the strengths and the vulnerabilities of a woman? In other words, how do you perceive her vulnerability, and do you see it as a strength or a weakness or something else? Of a woman that is over 55, well, even somebody that's really older, we tend to have this problem where we feel that we have to nurture everyone, that we have to take care of them, that we're responsible for the holidays. We have to do the traditional holiday meals. And when we get older and maybe we lose our spouse, we don't feel like doing all these things anymore. But many times, no one really ever asks a woman or talks about she's very vulnerable, especially during the holidays. It's a sentimental season. It's where they want to put up the decorations. They want to have their loved ones around. They like the Christmas music or the holiday music. But in other parts of the country, they don't even celebrate the holidays. So let's just talk about vulnerability in general. How do you feel about it? Either one, Ron or Dale.
I've noticed my sister, she doesn't want anything to do with the holidays
And
because it
that's
brings back a lot of memories. Now, me, on the other hand, I lost my wife. So I picked up the traditional Thanksgiving dinner, and so I do the dinners and stuff.
yeah, right. Yeah.
Makes me feel vulnerable.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Ron,
But
how
somebody's got to do it.
yeah, yeah.
So I kind of picked up a ball and went with that. And of course, you've ate at my house before on Thanksgiving.
And Christmas. I've been there for Christmas too. Yeah.
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 So
Well, woman, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, wait, we got Lou coming in now too.
oh, Santa Claus.
Santa Claus is coming in.
Oh,
Yeah, we
good.
got Lou, yeah. Hi,
Hi,
Lou.
Lou.
He's just connecting.
Okay.
You're on mute, Lou.
where's all the women?
Yeah. Hi, honey. Hi, honey.
This is part about some women will come on, but a lot of women will just be listening. This is actually, Lou, for men to talk about uh, the vulnerability in a woman, and what we just asked, the first question was, how do you perceive the vulnerability in an older woman? Do you see it as a strength, a weakness, or something else? And Ron was going to go next.
Well, just in terms of men and women, I've decided to be binary, just so you know.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, I want to be hip.
That's a diplomatic.
Talk about an easy way out, Ron.
Yeah,
Come
I
on.
know.
yeah, right.
So you can call me he or she, whatever you want. I don't care.
Okay, yeah, right.
And I'm extremely vulnerable on the she side, but not so much on the he.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, I mean the ladies are presumably more fragile, and I guess that's synonymous with being vulnerable. And then certainly those who are alone. Um, no, it's got to be hard, especially the holidays have to be especially hard.
okay,
So the lady I see all the time is still has her spouse, thank goodness.
right. Yeah, yeah. Well,
So she's good.
there's other things like what do you think are I've got it written down here. So, what do you think are the most significant emotional needs of older women in your life, and how do you try to support these needs, Lou?
Well, let's see. My wife just came downstairs and asked me to put up the Christmas lights. The Christmas lights, and of course, I'm all caught up with project, and I'm like busy, 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 and so I made excuses like right now, and I just try to pawn it off on my grandson and his father and so on and so forth. And I didn't really get how important it was for the ornaments to go up outside. Her perspective, her way of thinking was not exactly on tune with my way of thinking. And since didn't, I wasn't as concerned about her perspective. I made what a normal man does occasionally is screw it up. So, we never stop learning, especially as we get older. That doesn't mean you didn't step in it. After you step in, you look at it and say, "Oh, geez, I did it again."
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so and I think women's needs, no matter whether they're 55 and over, or they just have that, and it's our way of viewing them that is, man's way of viewing them that is doesn't necessarily is compatible with theirs, and so it's always that struggle throughout one's life. It's rarely that I found a couple that always is in sync.
Right.
Very, very. I mean, I just don't. That's just not a normal thing. So it's always going to be that way all the way down. I can only talk also. My sister recently passed, and she was 91 years old, and she was single all her life, and so she was such a strong, uh, uh, willed person, never relying on anyone except herself. Now, for me, it was an extremely appealing personality. Because she was not, she was, nothing stopped her. No man world stopped her. But she was one of the most kindest, most generous, more capable human beings on this planet. She was, in my opinion, a perfect human being in that she always thought of others before she thought of herself. And she had that feminine quality of elegance and beauty to top it off.
Right.
So to put that package together, unusual. It's just not is not normal. So when two parties get together, a man and a woman get together, they're always trying to use each other's strengths and vulnerability. To me, it's I I personally like the idea of being there for her. I like being there to help those moments that she needs. And that's for me. It's like that. Some men may not like that. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
There's so many other ways, other things that she does. You know, last night's meal was unbelievably delicious.
Right. Yeah. Well,
Did you go
oh,
out to
we
eat?
we got Beverly
Oh,
coming in here.
food.
Hi, Bev.
Hey,
This is
hey,
Beverly is a psychologist,
hey.
and Bev, we're talking right now about what men's perspective is about women over 55 who are vulnerable. Hi, Bev.
Your
Okay,
mic is,
so
Hi, Kathy. Hi, everybody.
hello,
Hi.
Beverly.
Hello. Good morning.
okay, so the next question I wanted to ask you guys, and Blue, you already just answered this, is can you think of an older woman who has been a role model for you, and what have you learned from her about strength, resilience, and vulnerability? Ron.
You.
Me?
Yes.
Oh, oh, why
And
is
then,
that?
and not just saying that. Well, you've
If
overcome
anyone is resilient, Kathy, it's
the resilience big time. You know,
yeah.
you've conquered a lot of hurdles, and I'm very proud of you.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. You know, I'm prone to tears when I get
Yeah.
older, so
Mhm.
I don't want to cry
Oh,
right now, but
you're so vulnerable.
Yeah, you're vulnerable.
I'm
That's right.
vulnerable.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's really true.
sure.
That's what it is. Yeah. Dale, who's your role model?
I would have to say it would have been my wife when she was here.
Okay.
She was strong. She was the matriarch
Right.
and widely respected by everybody.
Right.
And you did not get in her road when she was doing something.
Yeah.
That
Uh,
doesn't sound even a little vulnerable, but that's good.
yeah.
She was a very strong woman. She would take on any task and not think about if there was ever any time she would fail, because she never did. And most women never do.
Yeah. Well, Bev, we
And
yeah.
they're always right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's true. Yep.
Yeah. Bev, we were talking about, vulnerability of women, not necessarily over the holidays, because many women don't celebrate the holidays, but they're very vulnerable when they get older because they've lost their identity, they've lost their traditional role. They no longer really want to. They may have lost their spouse, or they're single, or they're divorced, or whatever. But that vulnerability is something that they try to keep quiet. And now we're trying to understand the man's perspective of how do they look at a woman who is really, really vulnerable. So in your practice and with your women's group, do they ever share with you about the men that understand their vulnerability?
No,
I'm not in a group, so
no, no. I
hello.
think I Warren. We haven't met. Um, no, I think women share among women their vulnerability.
Yeah.
I think men, when they see women vulnerable, want to protect them and 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 care for them.
Mm-hmm.
And not every woman wants to display that. I, for one, is one of those. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a problem for people like me, because I will put on that face and I will do whatever it takes, switch gears, and I will be fine. So what I have learned, and in my career and in my job, you're supposed to separate, You're not
Mm-hmm.
supposed to tell anybody really what's going on. You're okay, you help others. So what I had to learn, and still am, and it's been a journey, and life is a journey. I keep on growing. But when I got into coaching, that's where I did have to express vulnerability, because when you're out of the office, you're not working on the same level. It's
Right.
completely
Yeah.
different. So if you're not vulnerable, how can you help other people? How can they see that you not only know what you're doing, but you're human? And so your vulnerability is your humanity. And that's why I agree with you, Ron. You know, what Kathy's been through is a role model to me, and
Oh,
is something for the Goldens, really,
Hmm.
because who would have thought a woman and their dog?
yeah.
Think of it. Who, you know? And the dog gets you out into the community. Whether you want a dog or whether you don't, you have to partake. And that is something.
Hmm.
You end up communicating with other people. You end up talking. You end up sharing an interest. Look what your dog is about. So yeah, then you can express your vulnerability. But to your point, Kathy, I don't think that, I mean, women among women talk about it. They talk about men, they talk about their problems, they talk about their mothers, they talk about their everyone.
Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know, it really depends on um, when you're out there. You know, it's the same thing. Those that are like me, um, those women that people look up to,
Right.
it's almost like our job not to express our vulnerability. And
Or
men
show it.
that characteristic too. It's like,
Right.
okay, you know, when you could be dying inside. So
Exactly.
yeah, so
Well,
what
to,
it is,
to
we
the
have to express our humanity, because we're all human,
right.
all male, female, doesn't matter. And it's just, we're just people, you know.
Right. So to all the men right now, do you notice any vulnerabilities that in your the women that you know, your spouses or your friends, that they don't necessarily expose to you, but you can see it, you can feel it? And if so, what are those vulnerabilities to any of the men?
Most of the women that I have talked to and stuff like that, I don't know, maybe it's me, but they're more open to me and they tell me what their problems are.
As opposed to,
Yeah, clamping up and not saying anything. I don't know,
okay,
it's just some kind of aura that I have or something, but women don't have a problem talking about their problems with me. I don't, you know.
yeah. Dale's very approachable, Bev. He's
Sure.
very approachable, and he's just a super nice guy all around. So everybody loves him type, and Lou too, for that matter. Lou, what vulnerabilities do you see in the women that they don't really openly express about?
I think there is this women have a sense that who they're speaking with or who they're interacting with is genuine, you know, and has is authentic. So I think women and rightly so, uh, are guarded at first, and then after a while, if they get to hear your who you are as a human being, uh, that has, you know, you can sense, women have a great sense for knowing who that person is almost immediately, and to open up one's personal thoughts, ideas, judgments, considerations, beliefs, all those things there. That's a very intimate experience. And it, for someone just to come out just flowing with that kind of information to someone that I just met
Right.
would would make would I would be guarded to that. I would say, you know, it's not, I may not be the person that you want to be able to communicate all of this to. Maybe there's someone that's more professional that could help you with the issues that you have. That's what are now. Again, everything in creating a relationship with someone, I think it takes some time. Put a little time under you.
Right. Ron,
So,
yes,
oh, let me
go
talk
ahead.
about.
Yeah.
So Barbara's my boss, and Kathy knows that. And then she's wonderful and bossy. And then we have this tradition that I love. We have a date night every week. And almost every date night, especially lately, because we're losing friends, she shares with me that she's scared as hell that I'm going to die first. And we both know that's likely to happen. So as tough as she is, on the day we open up to each other, I get that message and I understand.
Oh,
So,
wow. That
well,
resonated with me.
well, that's true. That's what's
yeah.
going to happen.
Well,
So
there
I
is that.
can't eat the good stuff I like, and I say, so my grandson's here now, so I can eat that stuff because he is. but normally I can't.
Meaning bacon. He loves bacon and he
Yeah,
loves
bacon makes
meat.
me happy. Yeah,
I just had some.
yeah,
I know we see you eating. Thank you for
Oh,
not sharing.
yeah.
Dale.
well, I mean, when you got a son that's a chef and he cooks breakfast for you, what are you gonna do? You
Oh,
know?
Yeah,
yum,
right.
yum.
Exactly.
Send him over.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, Bev, on the female side, the vulnerability of women. I was on, our board meeting yesterday, and my brother immediately sensed that I was very vulnerable and caught that, and everyone responded, and including the men. So I was really surprised that they did. I guess my face is like an open book.
Hmm.
I guess I show it. So do women show it and not realize that they're showing their vulnerability?
I think some women do. We can't just put everyone in one basket, but I also think when I'm listening to you guys, okay, and I'm thinking of my husband, um, as men get older and we start having losses, I can see men, like women are intuitive. You're right. I feel that, Lou. Women will talk more, and men are more rational. I'm really doing this men from Venus thing, men from wherever, Mars, Venus, all that stuff. It's not really quite like that. But if you want to simplify it, yeah, men are going out in the world. We're not going to talk about it. We can handle everything. And women more touchy feely, to be really cliched. Okay. But when we start getting older and there are losses, and there's loss in physical health, and there's family losses, and men become more vulnerable. And, like what you were saying, Ron, I mean, Jerry was in the army, he was in Vietnam, he's a man's man, right? But oh no, okay, not really at all. Okay.
Hmm.
And and now he's somewhat retired, he's an author, he's writing. It's all like a lot of touchy-feely stuff. He's not traveling the world anymore. He doesn't have to be on. And for him, we were just talking now, just today, about comfort, the feeling that I've never been so comfortable
Yeah,
before.
that's a
No,
good point.
Yeah.
That's a good
no,
point.
yeah. And so what happens is, even in spite of the losses, whatever goes on as we transition, we all become more vulnerable because of the losses. And we aren't so on to go out and travel and be and search and hunt.
Right.
All we are is just people, and we're all struggling. And so whether it's male or whether it's female, it's companionship, it's just trying to find comfort as we age, no matter what that is. And that's not about money. It's not about happiness. It's really about, Kathy, community.
Yeah.
Knowing there are
Yes, yeah.
people around us who can support us, and we can be
Connection.
with it. And we cannot um, just have community with everybody, or like you were saying, Warren, send them to an expert, like this is more than I can handle, or more than what I want to handle, you know. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I feel. We're starting to meet. Males and females are now starting to
Yes.
relate
Yes.
to each other more.
I find that I have that family at this age. I'm sure women at 55 and over find the comfort more than ever in knowing that there is family there for you to the very end. That there's someone there to the very end, and that's one of the things that's so important, in my opinion, is connecting women over 55. That there is a support group there, knowing that they can count on till the very end. That
Sure.
that I think is a critical piece of of the model that you've set up, Kathy. That the idea that there is an organization, a support group, someone there that they can count on, they could say whatever their feelings are, and I think that's a really valuable aspect of it. And fortunately, the internet, came at the right time.
Right.
A lot of women today, where they could actually have this kind of interaction and feel better about Saturday morning getting up and having a dialogue with, like-minded women who
Right. Yeah.
are sharing the same problems. Yeah, or same issues. Yeah.
Well, for myself, everyone knows that I'm always very transparent. And sometimes I say things that will are too much information, let's say. So, I'd like to share with you what my vulnerability is and where I come from, being divorced, being widowed, also being single now. I get scared. I get scared. I'm alone. I worry about what's going to happen to me if am I going to end up in a nursing home? Am I going to be, who's going to be there? I know my brother is there for me all the time, but I'm talking right now, right here, is should something happen to me
Mhm.
today? I don't really have a network around me. So that's one of the reasons why we formed the Golden Life community based on my own personal experiences because of my vulnerabilities, because of the fact that I want to bring connections together and call it selfish. But I think the part that we're really doing is I'm taking whatever fears I have and giving them over to the women in our organization and saying, help me through the rain. If you help me, I want to help you too. But keeping your head above water and keeping that positive attitude and keeping the energy flowing and having that all come together is a very difficult thing to do. It's so easy to just give up and say, "Oh, the hell with it all. I'm just going to give up. I'm going to take my big girl panties off." And I'm going to go and read, watch TV and eat bonbons, get as fat as a house, and forget about it all. But instead, and don't worry about your health, but there's a driving force, and whatever it is in me, I love it. And I love the feeling that I have the opportunity to give that same feeling to other people. Because, Bev, you know yourself with all the women that you deal with, um, it's contagious. The energy is contagious. Women gravitate towards it, and men gravitate towards women that are happy and
Exactly.
that are energetic and have a smile on their face and can empathize and can deal with the life situations.
I,
And it's okay to cry.
I think you hit the right from the start. You said a very important piece, which is what are you afraid of? if you
Dying
start
alone.
if you start from fear, that fear, then the idea is questioning that fear. How is that set up for you? My sister has at 91 at the very end had a hospice come to the house. I didn't know that hospice comes to the house. I didn't know that that was an option.
Yeah.
What a wonderful option that is to have a person be able to come there and actually have that intimate experience, taking care of you, doing whatever it takes. That takes away a lot of fear. For her, it certainly did. So that's a solution that a lot of women may not know. That
Right.
in fact, if it does come to that point, and it will, there's no two ways about it, it will come there, that's one of the options that should be for life planning, taking care of that. Then
Right.
planning to have relatives around you towards the very end. I went down. She was in Washington. I'm in New York. I drove down 5 hours to be with her, and I spent time with her. And I did that. I had that kind of a relationship. So me taking responsibility for the relationship, telling my family, I'm afraid. I am afraid. I'm afraid that I'm not going to see you again. I'm afraid
Right.
I'm not going to be in my life again. I don't know what's going to happen. What at the end is there? I don't know that. There are lots of things. One of the things with my sister was hope. She was. I had long conversations that were spiritual from my experience, and I was never a spiritual person in the past. But just to know that, to have a bit of hope that you can't be stuck, that it's impossible, that who you are as energy might end up being something else somewhere else and continuing and so forth, so that you have some hope, at least that's a possibility. That means that you got to give up maybe your ego at that point, thinking you know it all and that you already figured it out, and that every scientist out there's already figured out. Now there's nothing there.
Right.
Could you say that? Who knows?
Right.
There's no proof that there isn't. So instilling some hope in people who have that fear, the fear of
Right.
dying, is a really big deal. And being
It,
able to bring that to the table in this community, because that's who's speaking to this. That's a subject or topic to have that conversation with women. If indeed you are afraid of how it's going to end, let's have that conversation, because there's lots of possibility for you to actually feel better afterwards about what's about to happen.
well,
I just want to speak to that,
okay.
because that is so true. If you have the luxury of planning, not everybody does, but most people, in particularly Kathy's situation, where you've had multiple confrontations,
Now,
multiple difficulties and health issues, multiple losses, not to have the fear. That's a process that we all have to go through. And just now, just this past week, I think, Kathy, my brother-in-law, who he died of Parkinson's. If I go into this vulnerable mode and start teary-eyed, you will know. It was a long and horrible progressive disease, if anyone has gone through that situation. And he knew, like, what he would say was, I will be dying of Parkinson's. Most people do not know what they're going to die of, but I know. And he was in LA, and I'm in Canada. There were only so many times, and you could live a long life, and he did a good 20 years. And he went through multiple surgeries, et cetera, et cetera. Well, at the end, there's dementia. And we'd lost him for many years. And at the end, yes, he was comfortable and it was peaceful. And what happens here is, yes, hospice came in, and at the end, his partner was the one that inject the morphine. It was done really sensitively and really beautifully, I have to say. But the fear of anyone or any losses, like I'm not living alone. I've lived alone many years. My husband traveled plenty. I was working. When you're working and you're working all the time, you disassociate from those fears. But a fear is a basic, it could go right down to that when you start feeling the way you were feeling, or you start putting your mindset there. But I've also worked in long-term care years ago when I was even training. And what was remarkable about people who are dying is they don't live in the past unless their mind is going to go there. They live for today. And today is what will break your fear. If you're starting to feel, well, you know what, just today, once you start putting your mind future forward, we all have fears. Will my money,
Yes.
you
Right.
know, will my children come and meet me? What will they say? Once we start putting our mindset there, we all start building anxiety. So, as just a quick tip, it's so true, you know, stay in the moment. Today, I'm okay.
Right. Right.
That breaks it. But fear, we will go up and down with that. When I put my head into, the same as your wife, Ron, you know, I want to go first, please. You
Uh,
know,
if
take me
if if
first.
she, if she goes first, the plants will die.
Yeah, this,
Mine did.
Yeah.
Yours said today.
but what I do, you know, as you said, Kathy, does make me get up in the morning. It does. It forces me,
Right.
you know, to
I have
live.
people to take care of. I have people to
Yeah,
enlighten. I have people to
yes.
do things. Yeah.
You know, it's okay, Jerry, you handle this. I have to talk to
Yeah.
Kathy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, the other thing too is that there's it's wonderful when people act on others' vulnerability in order to support them. For instance, when I was in the hospital last year, I was alone, and my sister-in-law, Barb, she had just had back surgery. And my brother was torn between should he leave her and come with me, and what should he do?
Yeah.
And she very magnanimously said, "No, you go with your sister. She needs you right now," because it was a potentially end of life experience. And so he came there. He knew my vulnerability. He was there for me. And I have to tell you, the second he walked in, it was like, and I'm going to cry on this because it was like, thank God you're here.
Yeah.
Thank God you're here.
Well, I was glad I
Because
could do it, Kath.
I needed him at that time.
Mhm.
And I was frightened and I was alone. And he was there. He handled everything for me. He did the last minute things. We went over all the passwords and this and that and where my money was, which was very little, and yada yada. And yeah, it was a very, very emotional time, but it was also a great bonding time.
Mhm.
A great bonding time for us. And Ron, I know that you sensed my vulnerability and you had my back and you were there, and I love you for that.
Well, I love you too.
I think one of the best times that I had from a bonding times with my father has Parkinson, and he knew he was dying, and we all did, and he was in my studio. He lived in my studio. I lived upstairs. And we chose it to be that way because I had to take care of my father, and that bonding that occurred through the act of contribution is the my choosing to have it be that way, where I can serve his needs for being vulnerable, was such a gift to me. So that when you talk about the idea of keeping yourself in a great space, even at this age, the ability to care for others, to create a community for others to interact, to be with others, is a gift to the giver. It's a gift to give.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so understanding that means you, to your very end, you still have the opportunity to contribute. Because from my perspective, contribution is a function of love. It's a function of love.
Yes. Yeah.
And love is all you need to the very end to have. And so that if you're creating it through your act of contributing, being with others, making others feel better, doing anything you do to actually contribute to other people, you figured it out. You have now planned the your exit. You have put into
Right.
place a system that you get from you giving. And how better, what a better way of doing it. So the people that come into your community and understand that process, I have friends of mine who are in their 70s, they're doing Meals on Wheels. They're going out delivering Meals on Wheels. They're doing things at charitable causes. They're finding ways to contribute. And that process takes you out of thinking about your issues and starts contributing to others. And you know how I feel about it. We're wired for that purpose. Our oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine is triggered through our act of contribution.
Right.
So why not plan for that to be part of your existence to the very end?
Right.
Well,
So,
go ahead.
okay. So Kathy and I did a series of shows for baby boomers, and three of them were on happiness. And all three of them pointed to something that's more in your head than its purpose. And the interesting thing about one of our guests anyway was he wrote a book called Retirement, Heaven or Hell. And his mother's purpose in retirement was to do nothing. And he thought that was a model. And so he tried that, and that was his hell.
Yeah.
So it's different strokes. It really is. I mean,
Yeah.
for his mom, sitting around doing nothing, waiting to die was her gig.
Yeah.
You know,
I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, I've just had an experience of some people that are actually in that position. I talked to my good friend Joe, and and you work for 30 years, you're a school teacher, you have all of a sudden retirement comes in, and you think that the game then is to do nothing.
Mhm.
Then all of a sudden you find that nothing is also when you when you when nothing occurs, there is a joy, happiness, and satisfaction that comes
well,
out of it. You
well,
just
but
get
it can be. I mean, that's the purpose of his book. It's like, don't judge someone because they're doing nothing, because that may be what they really like.
yeah,
For
yeah,
him,
absolutely.
it was not the case.
For judging, obviously, this is who are we to judge
Yeah,
anything,
exactly. That's true.
right? So, but that's not the issue. The issue is we are wired to be an active human being till the very end.
Hmm.
We just are.
Right.
If you don't feel like you matter, if you don't feel like you matter, and don't expect somebody else to tell you that you matter. You're doing things in life unconditionally in order for that to occur for you.
Right. Right.
Your being is someone who's contributing to the betterment of the human condition, no matter who it is.
Sure.
That's your purpose in life. That's what you're here for.
Right. Hi, Jeanette.
So that the idea of being able to plan your exit so that you can eliminate those fears. One of them is take the time. You can't do two things at the same time. Take the time to contribute. You
Right.
can't multitask in your brain. Your brain only thinks one thought at a time. So if you choose to be the kind of human being that is constantly contributing, and that, by the way, could be contributing to your body, contributing to your mind, contributing to your family, anyone, no matter who, contributing to
Right.
your by petting it. All those actions, all those way of being, puts you in a state where you are very, very satisfied. It's a good place to be. Now, for me, obviously, there are situations that are real clear that are major challenges. Like Kathy's had her challenges. I'm going through one right now, which is this congestion that I have in my nose. It sounds like I've had a permanent cold going on for the last year. I'm about to go into surgery to eliminate that problem, but you still can't be at effect of it. You gotta find ways to hold your illness and then still find a way of having your life be meaningful, worthwhile, satisfying.
Sure.
That, unfortunately, I'm very fortunate to have found that way. And Kathy and I have been in this dialogue for a very long time about this conversation, living a satisfying life.
Right.
How do you
Yeah.
actually cause that to occur? Yeah.
Jeff, I need to leave this
Leave.
call.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
don't
As
know
a
if you
matter
want
of
to wrap
fact,
it up
yeah,
or.
we are going to wrap it up now. We were just going to say, I'm sorry, Jeanette, you came in at the very end.
Me too.
But we'll have the replay on this. If you have to go, go ahead, Ron, and I'll just
Okay.
wrap it up.
All right. Thanks,
Yeah.
Kath. Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Have a
All
great
right.
weekend.
Thanks.
Good to see you
Okay.
again.
Bye.
Bye.
Just to recap, what we really talked about was vulnerability in women and how do men perceive it. And the idea is that women don't necessarily show it, but some men have the capabilities of identifying vulnerability in women. And when they do, how do they act on it? So if you wanted to just introduce yourself for a minute, Jeanette, that would be great. And why was this of interest to you?
Anything to do. My name is Tinette DeVera, and I'm in British Columbia, Canada. And what this topic interested me in is the vulnerability aspect, because both men and women have vulnerabilities that both parties can recognize. And I think we've got some faulty definitions of what that means. And I wanted to hear a little bit more about that. And I came in late. I'm so sorry, Kathy.
No, that's okay. We appreciate you being here. It's
Uh-huh.
very, very welcome. So, Dale, as an end here, I believe that you are the type of person that recognizes people's vulnerability, or women's in particular, because he's a real ladies' man, everyone, and he's single. He's single. So anyone
You
that's
know, 3 weeks ago, I was at the bar. I go to this bar that has a band every Friday and Saturday night. And I was sitting at the bar, and this very attractive lady walked in, and she asked me if there was anybody sitting beside me, and I said no. And she sat down, and she just started talking. And I never met the woman before, and she was going through a bad time with her marriage and stuff. And she just opened up, and of course I was talking to her and trying to give her some ideas, and at the end she said, "You're one of the nicest men I've ever met in my life."
Mhm.
And she said, "I really enjoyed talking to you this evening."
well, don't you think that that's because you are you are vulnerable too, and you're open to you are an open book. You're very transparent, and you welcome people to tell you their story. That takes a certain type of a personality, and it also takes a lot of trust.
You're
Yeah.
absolutely, you're absolutely right. I think Warren is a great listener.
Yes. Yeah, he is. And when I was in the hospital, when I was in Phoenix, he was there. He would come, he took care of my dog. He did stuff at my house. He did everything. He was there at the hospital with me all the time. So, yes, he's a very caring person. I'm in Las Cruces now, so I was in the hospital how many times in Phoenix?
What, couple times?
I think it was two or three times in Phoenix, and then from there I went to Las Cruces, and I've been in hospital 3 times in Las Cruces. So, so 5 times in 3 years, that's a lot. But
Well, when you was
what?
in the hospital, there was not very many people that knew how to deal with Charlie.
Right. Yeah, my dog. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
and
not a people person. He's not a people dog.
certain people,
Yeah,
certain people.
yeah. So anyway, Dale took care of them for me. And so again, if we're talking about the vulnerability, we should really close this up. It's we love the idea that men play a part in a woman's vulnerability. Women just don't know how to rely on them when they're vulnerable because we have this tendency to be quiet, and some men don't have the ability to even recognize it. So if we can develop an open dialogue about vulnerability, as Tonette had just said, and identify that we all have vulnerabilities, and if we rely on each other, especially in our Golden Connections collective,
Yeah,
we can
yeah,
we
yeah,
can we can move forward. Dale,
yes.
yeah, we can hear you.
Oh,
Um, if we can move forward with connecting with women at the heart level and then help them to lift them up and let them feel that they belong, that's our main goal. And vulnerability seems to be something I think we're probably going to do a major webinar and bring in some experts. We'd love to have you on that, Bev, so that we can actually go in deep into what is vulnerability and what can we do as women and as men, women dealing with men that may not understand their vulnerability. These men that have been on this show are very vulnerable because they are my lifelong friends and my brother, and so they totally get it. So as last thoughts on everything, Bev, what do you want to say to everyone?
First of all, I love the conversation. Um, each and every one of you, and Ron as well, although he's not here, has just, there's so many things I could say. That's all I can say in such a short time, because it's such a large issue and we can go in so many different directions. But I think that this is a real launch pad to carry the conversation even further, because men struggle with this a lot differently than women. And we both need companionship, community, allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, not only the feeling, and this is to your point, Lou, we do need those connections. And many people feel too vulnerable to even go out and get those connections. And that's why they stay alone. And they say, well, I'm not a people person, or nobody really cares. So, or I don't want to volunteer. That's not what I'm about. So there's a lot of stuff that can be brought out to the surface so that each and every one of us can understand that there's no judgment here. And this is the community that you're building, Kathy. It's no judgment. We're all in it together, and we all feel the same feelings. We really do. It doesn't matter if you're male or female or whatever it is, whatever your gender is, we are human, and we're all going through it together, and none of us are going to make it out alive, right? So
Right?
we
Yeah.
have to make it the best possible scenario ever. And to your point again, Lou, we all need purpose. And I don't believe anyone's purpose. I mean, if you're saying, I don't want to do anything by right, sure. But those can be limiting beliefs too, because once you find what you're really meant to do, and these are the things that I do for people, it's like, wow, you're on a whole different trajectory. And that's where you are, Kathy. And hopefully that's where I am. And hopefully that's where each and every person in the community will be on, because that's just feeling good until
Right.
don't get out alive, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is what it's about. So
Great. So, Dale, what do you want to say as a closing on this? Any recommendations, or do you just want to say bye-bye?
Um, I want to wish everyone a happy holidays. It's been a fun show.
Thank you.
I've heard a lot of good comments, and in the conversations and stuff. But I think it all boils down to try to help one another.
Mhm. Be
That's
there.
always
Be
been.
present. Be present.
Yeah.
Show up.
I got the ability to notice if there's anything wrong with a woman or a friend or something, and I've got broad shoulders, and I think they realize it, and they just open up to me because they can sense that I'm a caring type of person.
That's the point. There you go. A woman will sense that a man is a caring type of person. When they sense that, they open up. When you are a listener, you're opening up the door for them to do so, for their fear not to be there. But as soon as the woman has a consideration, because the guy is doing what I do too much of, which is talking, they 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 end up shutting up. They aren't very vulnerable anymore.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good lesson for men, by the way. I think is getting to understand that women who are saying that they're vulnerable uh, want to be heard. They want to be heard, and they're afraid that the man will not listen. Now,
Or be judgmental.
or be judgmental. Now, the younger guys under 50 are mainly in a different space. Their head is in a different space. They got money issues, they got divorce issues, they got this issue and that issue and that issue. And worrying about a woman's vulnerability is not an issue for them.
Mhm. Yeah,
As
it's
men,
true. Yeah.
as men get older, they have a better understanding of women's vulnerability to those type of issues, because that's what it's about. It's you talked about a very specific issues. The fear of, you got to the Kathy, to the core fear of being left alone, fear of not having someone there for you. All those fears are critical in this context of the last part of our lives, and dealing with them in the way that you are dealing comes out of your strength, which is
Mhm.
critical. You're no longer vulnerable, you are
Thank,
strong.
thank you for acknowledging that, Lou. That is very, very special to me. I appreciate. I've known Lou for 30 years, and we have been, connected at the heart level for sure. So he understands, and he's gone through all my vulnerabilities. So thank you very much for acknowledging that.
Absolutely. My
So
pleasure.
Tonette,
It's actually
Yes.
just right, yes.
oh, I was just going to say, Tonette, so we're going to close now. And what did you want to add to this? We'll invite you to the webinar that we have that will be about vulnerability.
Thank you for that. And thank you for the time and allowing me to get in late. I wanted to draw some attention over to Beverly and what she said today, which is that we are not alone. All of us are never alone. And if we have someone that we can reach out to where we feel safe, vulnerability comes very naturally. And if we bring our authentic self into the mix, I think as we're all speaking here, and I'm sure you talked about earlier, there's a sensing, an inner sense that we feel that we can be vulnerable in front of a man or a woman, or both ways. Even a total stranger sometimes is easier. So yeah, thank you for getting me caught up in the back. And Beverly, thank you for reminding all of us that we're never alone.
Yeah, right. Okay, everyone, thank you so much. This has been extremely, extremely special and inspirational, and I hope it will be, and we look forward to continuing on with it. Okay, everyone, namaste.
Namaste and thank you.
Blessings.
Namaste.
Okay,
Nice meeting
okay.
all.
Happy holidays.